Welcome to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Radio 107.9 FM, respective radio stations island-wide, Tel TV Plus Channel 15, and online viewers. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, Grisha Heilige Martin, to address you. Minister Heilige Martin, you have the floor.
Good morning, and thank you, Rolika. Good morning to everyone listening to the tune of my voice. Good morning to the media, and good morning to everyone in St. Martin. Before I begin this briefing, I want to first give honor and thanks to God for carrying our island safely through another hurricane season. We were spared once again, not because of luck or chance, but because of God's mercy, protection, and grace over this land. So for that, we are grateful as a people and as a country. In that spirit, I want to extend a heartfelt invitation to the community to join us for the 22nd annual Thanksgiving service hosted in collaboration with the St. Martin Christian Council and the St. Martin United Ministerial Foundation and the Seventh-day Adventist Church this coming Sunday, December 7th, at the New Testament Baptist Church here in Phillipsburg. Praise and worship starts at 4:30 and service begins at 5 p.m. And the theme of this year is God is our rock and our shelter. This service is our collective moment to come together as one community to reflect, to give thanks, and acknowledge God's covering over St. Martin's throughout the hurricane season. Today's press briefing includes several important updates, announcements, developments within the Ministry of TIAT, and there's quite a bit to unpack, so I'll get straight into it. The Ministry of TIAT wishes to inform the public that the passenger transport sector cleanup initiative is actively moving forward. Over the past weeks, we have been reviewing licenses that are clearly non-compliant and are no longer active, and these cases will proceed for revocation and as they are straightforward and easy to justify and supported by existing legislation. While initially I announced a public listing of all non-compliant license holders, after further legal and procedural review, we have chosen a more secure and responsible route. So instead of publication, we will reinstate the Transportation Committee, ensuring that the more complex or disputable cases are handled through the proper advisory process required by law. This cleanup will therefore take place in phases, beginning with the clear-cut cases and followed by committee-reviewed decisions for the remaining files. Additionally, updated provisions and criteria are being developed for the 2026 confirmation letter process, particularly for those for the more than 150 dormant, inactive, and illegal operating holders. This ensures fairness, it ensures transparency, and full alignment with the ordinance and SOAB guidance. Our aim remains the same: to bring order, integrity, and accountability back to the passenger transport sector while safeguarding due process. As most of you are aware, we are officially kicking off the holiday season with a full calendar of family-friendly Christmas festivities. And the Ministry of TIAT is proud to highlight all the activities taking place across the island. Each event is designed to bring life back into Phillipsburg, support local vendors, and create magical moments for families. Key highlight includes the Backstreet Bonanza, which happened over the weekend. It was 2 days of shopping and culture, well attended. Then we have it started December 1st up to January 5th, the outdoor lighting experience at the Vegas Christmas Vegas Christmas Lights, which is 2 nightly shows at 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. every day, free for the public to see, outdoor. And then this coming Saturday, you have the Bellyful Fest at Emilia Wilson Park with over 20 vendors, live entertainment, and all-day community festival, an all-day community festival. And then this coming Sunday, right after church, join me, I'll be there as well, at the Walter Plant Square. There's a little mini parade at 5 p.m. and a tree lighting at 7 p.m. And children will also be receiving gifts from you-know-who. Then we have Twilight in Town, which is also a TIAT initiative, Cyrus Square, where Christmas lighting, which is this Friday, December 12th, which will be lighting up the square. And there'll be a little few performances and treats for the kids as well. And then you have Christmas in the Park, which is also Emilia Wilson Park, Christmas Under the Suns with vendors. Not Emilia Wilson Park. It's going to be right here by the strip where we announced last time. No, I'm mixing up two things. Christmas in the Park. Oh yes, it's another event. Emilia Wilson's Park, Christmas Under the Stars with vendors and entertainment as well on December 13th and 14th. And then you have the Jolly Lane, which starts December 15th and ends January 5th, right here at Pondfield Village, hosted by CoM and TIAT, with vendors, Christmas stalls, and local foods and drinks. And that will be all week long until the 5th of January. And then you also have Christmas Becomes Magical, December 19th to the 21st, Phillipsburg Boardwalk, 3 days of culture, shopping, and live entertainment. TIAT is also responsible for most of the island's roundabout and Phillipsburg decoration. This year, we invested in brand new decoration designed to create a united Christmas theme. While the original plan included 13 roundabouts, administratively, timeline allowed us to only complete 7 roundabouts this year for the season. All 7 will be fully installed and illuminated by December 15th, with the remaining roundabouts planned for next year to complete the full storytelling concept. So I encourage everyone to come on out and enjoy the festivities and support vendors and celebrate safely. Before moving on, I want to briefly address 2 public concerns and that many of you have been raising: the traffic situation and the recent robberies. Over the past months, I have remained relatively quiet publicly on both matters, but I want to assure the people of St. Martin that these issues absolutely have my full attention as Minister of TIAT. On the traffic situation, many people assume that because TIAT oversees transportation licensing, we also manage traffic flow, road conditions, and enforcement. I want to clarify that while TIAT regulates and issues licenses, the broader traffic infrastructure and enforcement responsibility falls under VROMI and Justice. That being said, I fully understand the public's frustration. The level of congestion we're seeing lately is above normal, and it affects businesses, workers, students, and the economy at large. I can assure you that this is not being ignored. All 3 ministries, VROMI, Justice, and TIAT, are actively working on a possible short-term relief measure while also preparing a long-term traffic management strategy. For next year, we're exploring the pilot initiative during the low season to help ease pressure points, and more details will be shared once that is finalized. As TIAT, our role is to support these solutions where needed, including through regulatory adjustments and the work we are already doing on transportation reform. Now, with respect to crime, I must address an issue that concerns the entire country. The recent wave of robberies affecting Phillipsburg, supermarkets, individuals, and most alarming, multiple hotels in a short span of time. As Minister of TIAT, I am extremely concerned. This is not only as public safety matters, it is a direct threat to our tourism economy and to every family whose income depends on it. To the individual committing these robberies, this must stop. Because I want you to see the bigger picture. You're not only destroying your own future, you're damaging the future of the entire country. When you walk into a business or a hotel with a weapon, you're traumatizing workers, frightening visitors, weakening investors' confidence, and directly endangering our main economic pillar. If you feel you're doing what you must to survive, I want you to hear Hear me with honesty and compassion. I understand that many of you are struggling, jobless, and trying to find your way without guidance or opportunity. But taking from others is not the answer. When you rob a business or hotel, you're not only putting your own future at risk, you're taking food from everyone else's table and weakening the very economy this island depends on. And the truth is, when tourism stops coming, it's over for St. Martin. Not just for the government, not just for the businesses, but for all of us, including you and your families. You are capable of more. You deserve better. And this island needs you to rise, not fall. To the business community, although it pains me to say you must take additional precautions, although it pains me to say it, please take additional precautions. Ensure your security cameras are functioning, improve lighting, remain vigilant during opening and closing hours. This is not your fault, but protecting your staff and the customers must now be a shared responsibility. At this time, I want to encourage our business community not to turn away young individuals who are genuinely seeking a chance to work and turn their lives around. Many of them simply need an opportunity, a skill, a mentor, or someone willing to give them a start. Where it is safe and practical to do so, I urge you to be open to providing employment opportunities. Sometimes a job, a routine, or a sense of purpose can be the difference between losing a young person and saving one. We will have to start somewhere. To the community at large, talk to your youth and your young adults. Help them understand the consequences of their actions. I wholeheartedly want to thank the police force and VKS for their continued service. Government cannot curb this alone. It takes a village to protect St. Martin. On a more pleasant note, I am pleased to share an important administrative update. This week, I had the honor of signing a national decree officially appointing Mrs. Judianne LaBega Hoover as the Director of the Bureau Telecommunication and Post St. Martin. With more than 25 years of leadership experience in the telecommunication, postal, and regulatory sector, Mrs. LaBega Hoover joined BTP in 2012 as a CFO, strengthening the organization's financial system and long-term strategic stability. And in 2021, she became the interim director and successfully guided the Bureau through complex regulatory environments, advancing modernization in alignment with global industry standards. Her appointment reflects her professionalism, competence, and deep commitment to St. Martin's digital and communication landscape. I extend, on behalf of the Ministry of TIAT, heartfelt congratulations to Mrs. LaBega Hoover, wishing her strength, wisdom, and continued success as she leads BTP into the next chapter. Finally, I'm proud to announce an upcoming Agriculture, Livestock, and Fishery Expo 2025, a major step into strengthening food security and building new economic opportunities. This expo is not simply an update. It is bringing together of our entire ALF community, farmers, livestock owners, fishermen, entrepreneurs, investors, students, and partnership. Since the 2022 National Agriculture Policy, the ALF sector has made meaningful progress through the efforts of ETT and the Agri Academy, powered by credits and supported by SCDC. ALF is no longer a concept. It's becoming a real industry with real opportunities. Hosting this expo now is intentional. We must fuel the future of this sector together by sharing our progress, expanding awareness, and planting the seeds of opportunity for those who may have considered agriculture, livestock, and fisheries as a career or as a business. I often say you don't know what opportunities you will step into until exposure opens your eyes. So the public invitation is as follows. Next week, Thursday, December 11th, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the University of St. Martin. Representatives from credits will be there, SCDC, the Chamber of Commerce, the key ALF stakeholders will be also on site to provide guidance and business fundings, training, development, and formalization. So whether you're exploring a new idea or seeking investment insights or simply learning how St. Martin plans to strengthen food security, the expo is for you. I strongly encourage everyone to attend as we build the future of St. Martin together. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Heilige Martin, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Justice, Natalie Tacklin, to address you. Minister Tacklin, you have the floor.
Let me also pass the minister her things. There you go. All right. Good morning, Prime Minister, the Minister of TIAT, members of the media, and of course, the people of St. Martin. I too, of course, want to echo Minister of TIAT's statements when it comes to, our gratitude for having gone through successfully a hurricane season. We saw that some within our region were not as fortunate as us, and we have to continue, I think, to give thanks for being spared another year. We're closing out another eventful year together, a year filled with progress, challenges, and important steps forward in the justice chain. December is always a special time for our island, and families gather, friends connect, thousands of visitors arrive to enjoy the beauty and warmth of St. Martin. And the season brings great opportunity, but it also calls for increased vigilance, responsible planning, and community cooperation to ensure that everyone, both residents and visitors alike, remain safe. As we move through this high traffic period, it's important that I update the public on safety measures that are already in effect. The police force of St. Martin, in collaboration with the Ministry of Romi, has activated a series of traffic and public order measures through ministerial decrees signed by my person. These measures include 2 targeted public order efforts aimed at creating a safer and more organized environment during one of the busiest times of the year. The first being the restriction of scooters and motorcycles in the front and back street. We've seen an increased use of scooters and motorcycles as a fast getaway method in violent robberies, particularly targeting businesses in the Phillipsburg shopping area, increasing the risk to public safety and complicating effective enforcement by the police. To reduce those risks, front and back street will remain closed to motor vehicles on 2 wheels from Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. This also applies on public holidays and on late-night shopping events for the duration of any extended opening hours. In addition, Front Street at the Voga Street intersection will be closed in the westbound direction for all vehicles to strengthen traffic control and support enforcement on the ground. Clear traffic signage will be in place at the relevant access points so that residents, visitors, and drivers can follow the rules safely and without any confusion. Residents living in these areas are encouraged to plan accordingly, as access may be limited during those specific times. Secondly, persistent complaints have been received from the tourism sector, the port, and visitors about people approaching tourists in an aggressive or intimidating way and offering services without the required permits, particularly at key arrival points. This negatively affects public order, visitor safety, and our country's reputation. For the 2025-2026 tourist season, that is from December 1st through April 30th, 2026, it is strictly prohibited to loiter with the purpose of aggressively or insistently approaching tourists to offer or sell goods or services without a permit at the entrance of the Dr. A.C. Watty Cruise facility and the cargo facilities on the Juancho Idaskin Boulevard, access to the Captain Hodge Wharf on the boardwalk, and access to the Walter Plants Wharf on the boardwalk. This includes, for example, unpermitted offers relating to vehicle rentals, tours or excursions, braiding, massages, or similar services when done without authorization and in a manner that disrupts order or pressures our visitors. Heightened officer visibility will be in Simpson Bay and Maho will continue to help manage the increased nightlife and tourism activity. Parking enforcement remains active throughout the season. Vehicles in no parking zones, especially in Phillipsburg, you remain subject to towing. These measures are not meant to punish lawful business. They're intended to protect public safety, support effective policing, and ensure that Phillipsburg remains a place where visitors can shop and work safely, and where our visitors feel welcome from the moment that they arrive on our shores. I ask everybody for their cooperation. Please respect the restrictions, obey the signs, and more importantly, listen to the instructions of the officers on the ground. As we enter the busy event season, I wish to remind all promoters, venue owners, and entertainers that event permits are mandatory under the General Police Ordinance, the APK. No public event may take place without a valid permit issued by the Minister of Justice. These regulations exist to ensure that the police can properly assess risks to public order and public safety, including, of course, traffic safety, and that we can in advance plan our deployment accordingly. I emphasize as well that even if a business holds a valid operational license, this license only covers the activities specifically and explicitly permitted under your business license. Whenever an event qualifies as a public entertainment or a gathering open to the public for relaxation or amusement outside the scope of your operational license, a separate event permit is required under the General Police Ordinance. An operational license does not replace the requirement for an event permit, and venue owners who rent out their premises for public events must ensure that an event permit is requested and approved for each event that is being hosted. With respect to religious manifestations, no permits are required. Requiring a permit for a religious manifestation, such as a procession or witnessing in public, would be unconstitutional, as it would infringe on your freedom of religion. However, public events with a religious connotation outside the church, like a gospel event, require a permit. If you're planning on having a public manifestation of religious nature, you are obligated to report this to the ministry 48 hours in advance, just so that we are aware and that we can make any adjustments, of course, to our own schedules. Then, before I continue, I too want to address the concerns that many residents have raised about traffic, crime, and the general sense of safety during this time of the year. These concerns are genuine, and I hear them. Safety does not improve through commentary alone, and it improves through capacity, planning, enforcement, and sustained action. And that is what we've been doing while operating under the very real constraints that have been built up over many years. Traffic during December will never be perfect on any island, but we are managing it with structure, enforcement, and clear rules. What we ask from the public is cooperation, patience, and planning. Safety on a busy island requires all of us to do our part. With respect to recent robberies, KPSM has identified patterns, adjusted patrol routes, and initiated targeted enforcement. The force has intensified its visibility, we've increased patrols in key high-risk areas, and we've also refocused our resources. These are not ad hoc reactions, but they're part of a broader data-driven approach that is already guiding our work into 2026. Alongside these efforts, KPSM has already made arrests linked to ongoing investigations. The force continues to work closely with the prosecutor's office to ensure swift case progression. And public safety, again, depends on the full chain working together. And I have to say that cooperation between the police, prosecution services, border agencies, customs, detention, that I've seen this significantly strengthen throughout this year. But as the Minister of Tiat also said, preventing crime also requires community partnership. So I therefore urge residents and businesses to secure your premises, lock your vehicles, use lighting, and report any suspicious behavior immediately. A safer island begins with simple steps that every household and business can take. We're also turning around systems that have suffered from decades of underinvestment, staffing shortages, and outdated infrastructures. These issues cannot be erased in 12 months, but for the first time in many years, the progress is visible and it's measurable. When people ask what the Ministry of Justice has done, the answer is not rhetoric. It is LBA completion, retroactive payments, reinforced police presence, infrastructure upgrades, international project advancement, and the start of long-awaited construction. These are concrete improvements and not just intentions. So as we begin wrapping up the year, I want to provide an update on the validation and issuance of LBAs for justice personnel. The following batches reflect our most recent progress. Batch 14, consisting of 29 staff, expected from the governor today, December 3rd, and will be immediately countersigned. Batch 15, 32 staff, completed, received back from the governor, expected to be signed today. Batch 16, 39 staff, currently at the ministry with the controller for review. Batch 17, 43 staff, and this is the final batch. That is awaiting validation, so we're waiting right now for SOAB to get back to us with the calculations for those, and we hope that those will also be completed again before the holidays. Many staff members have waited a long time for a closure on this matter, and I think that this progress brings us another step to completing the full circle. In addition to the LBA process, however, significant retroactive payments have also been finalized. This includes KPSM on-call services, 35 advices, totaling an amount of 754,000 guilders, KPSM Jubilee payments, 12 advices totaling 118,769,000 guilders. Then the following retroactive payments remain actively in process. That is the prison Jubilees, 19 advices currently with the governor, KPSM Jubilees, 9 advices pending, KPSM on-call services, 2 advices pending, immigration retroactive overtime, 14 advices under review at the ministry, Landsrecherche retroactive on-call, 4 advices under review, and the KPSM retroactive overtime currently being processed by our HR team at the Ministry of Justice. For the public's understanding, it's important to clarify why these retroactive payments have been outstanding. When the new function book and for KPSM, the rechtspositieregeling, as we call it, were enacted, salaries and allowances changed accordingly. This required a full recalculation of on-call services, overtime, and other entitlements across the justice chain. These recalculations were never fully processed following the enactment of the function book and the rechtspositieregeling KPSM and the issuance of LBAs under previous administrations. As a result, a significant backlog accumulated over several years. Over the past months, my team has been working intensively to correct these outstanding payments and to ensure that every justice worker receives what they are rightfully owed under the law. Turning now to ongoing projects, the ministry has finalized the advice for the renovation of the Foreigner Detention Center, a project with a value of 1 million guilders. This upgrade is part of our broader commitment to strengthening the entire detention chain and, of course, supporting our borders. I also want to update the public on the Detention Sector Reform Program, the DSRP, which continues to progress meaningfully through our international partners. On the UNODC side, the team has done extensive groundwork by meeting with key stakeholders to advance rehabilitation, reintegration, and staff training. Their findings will help shape the next steps, and more information will be shared as the work advances. On the UNOP side, the contracted construction company is now in the mobilization phase. Beginning construction marks a pivotal step in building a modern, humane, and secure detention facility that meets international standards. To ensure full transparency throughout the next phases of the DSRP, we are developing a centralized webpage that will serve as the home for all DSRP updates, including timelines, visual progress, and project information. I hope to release these details very soon to the media. Looking ahead to 2026, we will continue strengthening staffing levels, accelerating project execution, and investing in systems that protect our communities. Long-term improvements are underway and will become increasingly visible. As we enter the final stretch of 2025, I want to thank the people of St. Martin, our justice personnel, and our partners across every ministry and agency, both locally and internationally. Your resilience, collaboration, and commitment have carried us through a year of meaningful progress. I encourage every family to enjoy the season safely, look out for one another, take note of the safety measures that are in place, and I want to assure you that this ministry, and especially this minister, is not standing still. We're moving, we're building, we're correcting, and we're strengthening every part of the justice chain. You deserve nothing less, and I will continue to deliver. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Minister Tacklin, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Dr. Luc Marcelino, to address you. Prime Minister Marcelino, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. People of St. Martin, good morning. Representative of the media, especially from the CoM, representation of the press, and also my colleagues, Minister Heiliger Maarten and Minister Tecklin. Good morning. First of all, as everybody knows, I have been in Suriname from the 21st of November until the 28th of November on an invitation of the government of Suriname. The trip centered, of course, in the first place to the participation in the 50th anniversary of the Suriname independence in the so-called the Srevidentie 50. That is how they call it in Suriname. So they invited me as Prime Minister to attend the 50th anniversary festivities. It was an honor to represent St. Martin in Suriname. Of course, it enhances the bilateral relationship between Suriname and St. Martin. As we know, we have here a broad, large diaspora of Suriname here in St. Martin. Further, we have been exploring cooperation. Next to my visit, I made use of that opportunity to see how we could explore cooperation in food security, health, energy, commerce, and aviation. The first was the courtesy call, of course, to the President of Suriname. We had a one-on-one meeting with each other. In this case, I met the President of Suriname, Her Excellency Jennifer Geerling-Siemens, and we had, of course, our discussion to actually strengthen our working relationship on economic level and see how we can expand Caribbean cooperation in climate resilience, energy transition, and, of course, trade, realizing that still we are being threatened by the tariff war of the United States, so it obliges us to see other alternative ways for us to secure our trade towards St. Martin. I also made use of that opportunity to engage with the business community of Suriname. I met also with the Chamber of Commerce of Suriname. In that I had the opportunity to discuss the possibilities of a private sector partnership with St. Martin, see if we can cooperate with each other on the level of tourism, and also see how we can actually engage more the small and middle enterprises towards our economy in St. Martin. I also had a visit to the port of Suriname. It was nice to see how they manage their port, their harbor in Suriname. I looked into their I got some insights into their logistics, their supply chain management, and port operations. And of course, you always get incentives and ideas to improve your own port here in St. Martin. I also had the opportunity from government to government to meet the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Suriname, of course, in a dialogue to enhance our structural cooperation with each other. And I also met with the Minister of Agriculture, Husbandry and Fishery. And in that, we also included the potential of agricultural training and support for St. Martin. And of course, seeing my background of health, although I'm the Prime Minister, I made use of that opportunity to have a one-on-one visit with the Minister of Health of Suriname. In the first place, I wanted to thank him for all the professional that is helping us here in our healthcare. As you know, we have a lot of nurses, medical professionals assisting us here in our healthcare, also in our hospital. And we were looking into possibility to have more an exchange program, especially on health level, to assist St. Martin. I also visited the Staatsolie company in Suriname, that is seeing the developments with the finding of oil in Suriname. I was very curious to know if there was also a possibility for St. Martin in this aggressive finding that will for sure propel the livelihood of the people of Suriname. I thought it would be great to have an update about where they're standing in the nearby future with this whole oil development for Suriname. And there are some opportunities also on the base of energy diversification. So we had a very interesting meeting with that company. And of course, after discussing with the Minister of TIAT, Minister Heiliger, we agreed upon that I will make use of that opportunity to sit with Suriname Airways to see if we can have a possibility of connectivity with Suriname Airways to St. Martin, of course, in the context of enhancing regional air connectivity and potential also commercial alignment with St. Martin. It was further very interesting to be part of this 50th anniversary of independence of Suriname. We had, of course, the extraordinary session of the National Assembly that I attended, of course, to be present for the military parade, and of course, the official reception and the cultural program that has been offered by the authorities of Suriname. At the end of the day, there are for sure, it has been a successful mission in advancing St. Martin's interest in, of course, the food security, especially on an island. It's very important for us to really be very critical and serious with our food security. Health cooperation, I discussed it already, trade and logistics, aviation connectivity with the Suriname Airways, energy transition, and regional diplomatic partnership, of course. I want to make use of this opportunity to thank the people of Suriname, the diaspora here in St. Martin of Suriname, for their friendliness. I was very impressed with their friendliness, with their hospitality, and of course, the quality of food that they offer you in Suriname. I have to really compliment Surinamese with their kitchen. Believe me, it's impressive how good these people eat in Suriname. So once more, people of Suriname living in St. Martin, being one of us, thank you for your friendship, hospitality, and your great food. Secondly, I am leaving to a travel visit to the Netherlands coming Saturday for a few working days. I have been invited by the organizers of the 36th Inter-Expo Congress that will take place in Newport Press and Debate Center at the second chamber of the Netherlands. It's a very interesting Inter-Expo in which they invited the prime ministers of Curaçao, Aruba, and St. Martin, and also the prime minister of the Netherlands. And further, the moderators will be the very known Professor Dr. Ernst Hirsch-Ballin and also Professor Dr. Peter Jan Balkenende. These were in the past former prime ministers of St. Martin. It is about a discussion that will take place in this conference about the prospects for the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the vision and the expectations, of course. Further, it will have a discussion on socially just education in the kingdom, what has been achieved in the last 15 years since 2010, and what improvements are needed in looking forward. And of course, one of the questions that will be discussed is what do the Netherlands and the islands, or other overseas countries being part of the kingdom, what do they truly expect and want from each other? That is actually the topic that will be discussed. The Inter-Expo has announced the registration of nearly 170 participants, so it's a very big Inter-Expo in which I myself will also be a speaker in that conference. I will also make use of that opportunity, I always do that, to have a meeting one-on-one with the Prime Minister Schoof of the Netherlands. Especially, it's also important to get an update on the tension that is taking place here with our confrontation of the US with Venezuela, seeing that we are a country in the kingdom, our foreign affairs and actually our defense falls under the kingdom. So it's important, although I have a weekly, every week, every 2 weeks, a meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs van Wales, that he updates us about the ongoing developments in the Caribbean. I still will make use of this opportunity to discuss once more with the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, about the ongoing tensions in the Caribbean, especially between the United States and Venezuela. I will also have a session with the Prime Minister, Mr. Gilmar Pisas of Curaçao, and also I will have a one-on-one meeting with the Prime Minister of Aruba, Mr. Mike Eamon. This is what I have as update for now. If there are any questions, of course, feel free to pose questions to myself or to the Minister of Tiat or the Minister of Justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister Marcelino, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. Thank you for joining us. We now move over to the question and answer session, and Bibi Hadshaw of SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Alaika. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, ministers. My first question, Minister of Justice. Thank you. Minister, thank you for all the updates, especially those regarding crime and the new situations, the new changes for Phillipsburg for the holiday season. But I was expecting you, as Minister responsible for justice, to give us some information on the allegations of a cabinet staff with no medical qualification that is involved in the underground administering and sale of illegal peptide, which is in violation of the pharmaceutical laws of the country. If you have information, Minister, I'll ask you to elaborate, bearing in mind GLP-3, also known as retoratide, is not approved for human use. It is currently in research. It is not FDA or EMA approved, not authorized for human consumption, treatment, or clinical use. I got all of this information with a simple query on Google. We have next to us our Prime Minister, and I'd also ask him as a medical doctor to tell us the side effects, because right now, people that have been using illegal peptide have already been diagnosed with pancreatitis on St. Martin. Minister, bearing in mind, not only all of this is illegal, I'd like for you to understand and ask the Prime Minister, a medical doctor, to tell us what effect this would have on our healthcare system financially.
I can be very short about that, Bibi, because I can't comment on rumors and conjecture and things that are simply not true. So that's the stance of the Minister of Justice. And I think that I saw the Inspectorate of VSA also put out a press release. So I think that topic is finished, and I don't think we need to ask anything of the PM. So that's the response.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Bibi. I'd now like to invite Emil Lee of Island Nature Radio. You have your floor.
Minister of Justice, just first a clarification question. You said that you would put a ban on two-wheeled vehicles through Front Street and Back Street Monday to Friday?
Monday to Saturday.
Monday to Saturday. And over what time frame? Like
8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m.
No, I mean the dates.
Oh, sorry. Let me... Because I have that.
And how, if there's residents there
right
that
now.
have scooters, are they also impacted by this?
Here we go. Let me pull this up for you just to check the period of time. Yeah, these, for now, it's again just during the season. There's no explicit time frame mentioned. Well, as of the date of signing of the MBA, which is today.
So as of today
until further notice.
Further notice.
Correct.
So just for clarity. Okay. And then residents that have scooters or motorcycles there, how does that?
Yeah, I
They
mean,
would be banned as well.
yes.
Okay. Thank you just
Yeah.
for the clarity. So my question actually is, I'm not sure if it's for the Prime Minister or for Tiat.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is regarding the invoicing from GB. So we've been in conversation with a number of residents and businesses who have explained that they have, despite numerous requests for outstanding invoices from GB, are still missing. I mean, I've seen where a company had, I think, over 50 invoices, 50 accounts, and of which large blocks of invoices are missing. So this is now, going on 2-3 years that invoices can't be provided by GB. So I'm not sure if this is a question for Prime Minister because of GB or for Tiat, because I think that there's a consumer protection aspect to this as well. That I think it's unfair that businesses and residents, despite requests for invoices, cannot be provided an invoice. And how much longer are they expected to wait? And then when the invoices do actually come, they're so far gone that you have no way of telling if they're actually valid anymore or not.
Mr. Lee, I have been hearing those statements also outside there. And yesterday we had a closed-door meeting in Parliament with the supervisory board, the managerial board of GEBE, together with myself, with the members of Parliament in a closed-door meeting. And that concern has again been expressed towards the supervisory board of GB and also the managerial board. The GB is actually telling us that they are very updated with their invoices and they're very accurate now with their invoices, and their accuracy rate is above the 97%. I attended myself them again, that although their position in this is that there are still some remarks being made about, for example, that those invoices cannot be presented to individual consumers. I did that too. As long that I'm hearing this, I'm going to continue staying in contact with GEBE concerning this executional challenge of being updated in being able to present invoices to the people of St. Martin. Although the position of GB is different than what we hear on the street, I still believe that as long we hear that rumor, we have to continuously being on top of things in the functioning of GB. Be aware that in the structure of functioning, and I've said it many times in the past, is that we are the shareholder of GEBE, and we have the corporate governance system between the supervisory board and the shareholders. And I cannot communicate directly to the managerial board of GB without just communicating with the supervisory board. So my line of communication is the supervisory board. The supervisory board then has the task to communicate it with the managerial board. And sometimes that's very frustrating for me because with my character, I am very hands-on with problems. But every time I try to push my luck a little to see if I can get at managerial level, I'm attended on the fact that there is a corporate governance between the shareholder and the supervisory board. So we are in communication with the supervisory board. As for example, yesterday, the supervisory board was always present in the meeting in Parliament. And as long as I said we hear these rumors, it's my task to constantly inform the supervisory board that there is still a stance outside there that the invoices are not accurately being presented and on time to the consumers. And as long as that's the case, even if it's from hearsay, as long as that's the way we hear it on the street, we have as shareholders, as government, the task to stay in communication with GB. But every time we do that, of course, they promise us that they are going to give follow-up to whatever we attend them on, and we have to continue putting pressure and stay in good communication, because our common target is, of course, to improve the service to the consumers, being the people of St. Martin.
So, just for clarification,
Yeah.
Prime Minister, I have account numbers and I can provide you information.
Yes.
That 97% accuracy claim is nowhere near correct.
Please send them for me.
So I will send it to you so
Of
that
course.
it is no longer hearsay, but then
course.
factual.
Yes.
But then it goes to the second part of my question, which is that I understand your relationship
Yeah.
with GB, but from a consumer protection point of view,
Yeah.
how reasonable is it that consumers go years literally without being able to receive an accurate bill? And how are you then expecting them to hold funds to be able to pay it when they finally do receive it, if they ever receive it?
Thank you for that question, Emil. You're laughing at me. Yeah, tag. Two things. Consumer protection. That's something that the Ministry of TIAT is busy working on, establishing a consumer protection policy or law. And in also what we're also working on is BTP becoming the regulator of utility. So BTPU, that law right now is with the Prime Minister can confirm that law right now is with yes, you want to explain it?
Of course.
It's with the legal affairs. So those are the two items we're using, two directions in protecting the consumer and regulating the utility. Those two are going to be hopefully presented next year. I'm not sure about the consumer protection law. I don't have a date on that as yet, but the BTPU for sure is a law that's already established, being reviewed by legal affairs.
So I understand that, but nonetheless, what can a consumer do now who has not received bills for 2 years? I understand you're waiting for a law. That's your long-term perspective. But on the short term, consumers have made requests to GB. So what is their recourse?
I remember on multiple meetings, more than one or two occasions, we did mention this to the board. It is their responsibility to, of course, make the management team accountable and review this. All we can do as shareholder is, again, bring these concerns to the board. It's unfortunate, but that's it. That's all we can do at this point in time.
Thank you, Minister.
I don't know if
Prime Minister.
We have had a discussion in the past about this already. It is not for nothing that I have requested the board to resign. This is the other part of the answer. Secondly, concerning the tariffs, we are busy, as the Minister of TIAT said already, that we are busy with the establishment of the legal framework for BTP that has already been decided on, that they're going to be the regulator for the electricity tariffs for Country St. Martin. We are so far already that we mandated the BTP to become the regulator for the utility tariffs for St. Martin. That's one. And secondly, we already have the draft Landsverordening, the national ordinance in draft already made, and it's presented now to JZNW, and I am expecting in the coming 2 weeks for sure to have the correct definitive feedback from JZNW on the draft legislation framework to establish the BTP as the authority, as a regulator for the utility tariffs. Once that is received by us from JZNW, it's going to be handled in the Council of Ministers. And once the Council of Ministers approve it, it's going to be sent to the Raad van Advies, the Council of Advice. And once the Council of Advice approves it, it's going to go to Parliament because it's a law, it's a Landsverordening, it's a national ordinance. And then once Parliament approves it, it will be actually at that moment ratified, and then we move from there. And then country St. Martin has a official legal regulator for the tariffs. That is nowadays, the last days we're seeing a lot about, we need in the guiding of this tariff, the sustainable relief for the people. These are articles that are coming up today again in the newspaper. They are actually pressing on sustainability of relief. And the sustainability of relief is to have a regulator that at the end of the day is going to tell GB, as the Prime Minister have been saying for a while already, your prices are too high, your tariff is too high. As you know, I have done the analysis through a report of BTP. The BTP concluded that some measures can be taken to actually lower the prices that are being charged to the consumer. As you all know, the supervisory board was completely resistant to the advices. And why it became a difficult negotiation is because there is no regulator to oblige any organization to say, you can find this and the government can find this, and the report is saying that, but at the end of the day, if the regulator follows the rules of a report and the report does a great research and comes to the conclusion that the price is too high, the regulator is the authority at this particular moment, once it's established, to tell GB, listen, you can find whatever you find about the prices and the invoices, but this is the max that you can charge the people. And my hope is that in the beginning of the second quarter of 2026, this law is completely through the whole trajectory of the JZW, Council of Ministers, Raad van Advies, Parlement, and at the end ratified. And then we have a law, a regulator, and that regulation of the tariff is going to be the sustainability of actually being transparent in what is being charged to the consumer, and also is going to contribute to the actually to protect the people to be correctly billed in their consumption of energy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Bibi, I will allow your clarification for this round, and then we will have to close off. You can go ahead.
Thank you so much. Prime Minister, based on your statements,
Yes.
I just want a clarification. I
Yes.
know we are lacking on time.
Yeah.
You said that the shareholder has an arm's length when it comes to government-owned companies, for example, GEBE. And you said also one of the reasons you asked for the board to resign. Isn't it true that the board is not involved in the operations of the company? And GEBE, I believe sometime last year, July, or early this year, July, submitted to the government, the shareholder, some names for the appointment of the management board.
Yep.
And up to now, that is not done.
Yep.
What is the reason, and when will this take place? Because
Very
as
good.
much as the shareholder doesn't have
Yeah.
any actual hands inside, so is the supervisory board. They have nothing to do with operations.
If the supervisory board has nothing to do with the managerial level and operation of a company, then something is wrong in your organization, because they are the head of the organization and they have to have a control. Of course, they have to have. If a supervisory board does not have control about his execution, then it makes no sense to have a supervision through a board establishment in an organization. So if you're telling me that the board does not have a control of what is happening on managerial level in that company, you are making me very worried at this particular moment. And secondly, there is a management of GEBE. There is a temporary manager, and there is a contracted financial man for the company. Decisions that has to be taken about the execution of a company is not dependent of a future director that has to be appointed. You have one now, so there is no excuse. Especially, even if it's temporary, we have had before this temporary manager for a few years a temporary manager, And it was never an excuse to take decisions with GEBE. So now we have a new temporary manager. And if a board is functioning correctly, the way it has to be, there cannot be an excuse that there is no control of execution of that company, because you have a manager at this particular moment and you have a financial man at this particular. There should be no excuse for execution of what really has to happen in that company, especially seeing the critical situation that we're in with the SGB. So no excuses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, members of the media. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. For rebroadcast, tune into stmartingov.org, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Tel TV Plus Channel 15, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.